Hi all and welcome to the Truth, Honour and Integrity Show part 2 this week. Some Q&As for you today that we didn't catch up on Thursday. A reading of Kim's letter to the clowns and a follow-up piece for me as well. And I hope you enjoyed the show. Hi all and welcome to the Truth, Honour and Integrity Show. My name's Thomas Williams. Ain't nobody left but us these days. Well, we may have some bits in this show that suggest there's a possibility in the future that we'll have a lot more of us. We'll see. Right, I need to make a small statement before we go straight into the Q&A. And it's in response to me calling out certain people in the alternative community, and particularly James Gilliland, which seems to have irked some. But it seems some can't differentiate between dissing the man or the program he's promoting. Now, let's be honest, we've all followed wrong people, and I'm no different. Keenan, Drake, Wilcock. But whilst James continues to promote a failed program called the RV, I will continue with my stance. It's nothing against the man per se. I don't know him to pass any judgment. But I'll call out anyone who are following the genocidal maniacs promoting these fake programs, be it Zims, Dongs, Dinars, crypto or blockchain. It's beyond stupid at this point. Way beyond stupid. You know, how can you continue with it's all coming, it's all happening, the 800 numbers are ready, the top tiers are being paid out, which has been stated numerous times now as it's already happened. But if that was the case, why haven't they released the funds for the humanitarian programs then, if the top 2 tiers are being paid out? You know, 3 or 4 times every week it's happening and it fails. And we all repeat it week after week, after year, and nothing happens. And this one guy thinks we're a cult. No, the group themselves, not just me, did our research and came to the conclusion it's not happening. It's not being blocked, it's not being delayed, and it's not being hampered. It was never going to happen to begin with. Period. Each week they try to hack the system, the quantum system, to steal funds out of the trust. Every night before the notice goes out in the RV circles, it's happening tomorrow, they hack and fail. Only now they fail with consequences. So, to those who still choose to believe in it, perhaps you could ask why they would hack and try to steal funds out of the trust if they had the funds to RV themselves. Or perhaps you can ask why Cobra puts out certain codes ending with failed on the day after the hacking. Or perhaps you could ask why other codes get put out on that page saying launching this, which coincides eerie regularity with them trying to reboot the old Babylon, Hercules or Prometheus systems. How and why is that? I'm more than welcome to hear the explanations for it all, but I suspect none is coming. After all, it's happening again tomorrow, isn't it? Deary me, it's beyond stupid. So, I've got nothing per se against James Gilliland the man. But whilst he continues promoting programs that are going to damage humanity, like the RV, it's beyond ridiculous now. All right. Questions. In reference to the potentiality of sovereignty for each nation, you have said that the most important people have been fully notified, inferring that those not in power, the average people, are not needed in such decision-making. When I look at those in power at the political level, banking level, I understand that most of these creatures are serial lying Satanists, pedophiles and psychopathic criminals. To place any faith in these abhorrent individuals to make the right decision in reference to sovereignty or anything else seems absurd. Well, sovereignty for countries will impact beneficially to all people. You know, there's lots of people who want full disclosure on ETs for existence, you know, or full don't want to pay income tax in America because it's illegal. But we can't enforce it. Governments can. And governments have been given a massive update of reality and truth, because we have spoken to many of them. And largely, there's over 100 nations who are interested in implementing it. The only thing that prevents it currently is fear. You know, you could make a global announcement and people could ask for it. But it's them you have to convince to write the documents and the executive orders, etc., in the individual countries. You know, this show goes out quite far, quite deep as well, and covers a vast quantity of nations. So many people are aware of it. But as time goes on, more and more top officials are seeing what we're trying to do. Yes, they're not going to broadcast it on your nightly news, which is a waste of time anyway. But work is still underway. You know, a lot of these people in top positions, yes, they've done criminal acts, but they've also been denied the knowledge. Many of you already have. Like I've said many, many times, you'd be staggered at the depth of lack of knowledge people in high positions have. They didn't have the need to know. Well, now they're finding out, and now they're interested. And once certain elements are removed or restrictions are removed, it will take off. Now, there's another question later on, I'll answer that now. What about the people's sovereignty, or words to that effect? You can't have people being sovereign before the country, because you'll always get some psychopath who will claim domain over the country, which it is possible. Not for the average people like us, but for argument's sake, Bush Jr. or Clinton. You know, these people know the legal loopholes that we don't, or have teams of people telling them. So it has to be country first, and then the next step is to declare everyone sovereign. What form of retribution awaits the criminally insane within our society, and especially the big ones? How, with all their clones and replacements, how are these soulless thugs penalised for their atrocities? A lot of the clones, as I understand it, has been shut down. 85% was the last figure I was given of their facilities. Do they have doubles? I think it's more a case of doubles than clones currently, which is a change. You know, we may find, and I'm not saying that this is 100% sure, but we may find that a lot of the big names have already gone. And what we're seeing is a plethora of doubles. They may have already been dealt with. I don't know that 100% certain, but it's looking more and more that way. Where's the next? My question now is regarding the removal or elimination of approximately 150 cabal members that the council had mentioned. Yes, that's the 153 known as the Order, as they're called now. It's the top echelon. The top. None of them have any familiar names, trust me. Some of them are not even human. So your next question was, do you have the actual names, or do they provide? No. We know of some of them, but they won't be familiar to yourselves. I know it would be confidential, but you mentioned Soros many times and expressed your confidence he's no longer alive. Is he one of the 150? No, he's not. The people we see in public are, despite our importance placed on them, are really low-level puppets. They just push someone forward into the media, and it makes them look more important than the others. But they all play a role in the game. You will not see the Order like you didn't see the parents or the coven members on TV. Well, you might see a coven member on Gaia TV, but not general. And this is goes back to the first question about sovereignty. This is some of the information that the heads of state and prime ministers and presidents have no idea exist. They just don't. You know, even Kim didn't know until 2014, following a show that, or two shows, that Shane and I did was one, and the faction show was another. She had all the, how can you say, she had the diagram of what was what, but couldn't connect the dots to it. But those two shows did. Last part of that, I assume that Marduk was the one Kim always referred to as the son. No. I don't think she made that reference, but I could be wrong. Marduk was the son of Enki, I think. Memory serves me right. Either Enki or Enlil. And the grandson of Anu. Is there any particular reason why your email to the show is so long-winded and complicated? Is it to create drama, take up people's time, or irritate them? I'm not responsible. You know, I'll own up if it was me. I'm not responsible. Send emails to Soul Tribe Sanctuary and Chloe for that, but she sets up that email. The things people complain about. Oh dear. Can you please give your perspective on what happens to the soul upon exit, death of the body, at this point in the timeline? It depends on what happens at the burial, as compared to if they're buried and not cremated. It takes around 12 months for the soul to exit the vessel, because it's connected to the tissue. Once all the tissue and only the skeleton is left, then the soul departs. Now, what happened in the past, it was collected, harvested, for the better term, memory wiped and put back in on the soul trap loop. Well, since that's gone down, now that soul returns to source, where it has its own judgment, nobody else, on its own development and where it would like to go next and what details of the next life they would like to experience or undertake. Now, if it's cremated, the soul exits straight away. Now, part of the problems in Egypt, which some of them were not human either, I might add, or the country known as Egypt, that type of burial, where it's keeping the flesh intact, is trapping the soul. Says a lot about the entities and beings that were in that region, in my opinion. I'm struggling with addiction, and even though I know I have service to the highest good to perform in this lifetime, I'm struggling to overcome the disconnect these toxins offer. I feel shame and regret, which feeds the numbness I crave. Any advice would be helpful, because I need to beat this. Well, you've made your first step, you've admitted it. That's always the first step in any addiction. You know, we have people within the group who can help you indirectly or directly, in public or in private. You know, there's many people in the chat who have also overcome addictions of various types. In fact, you know, I've mentioned it a couple of times before. There's been a lot of work that's gone on behind the scenes at THI, where 7 people who were threatened suicide are all now still alive, with over 20 people who were on long-term addiction are now no longer partaking. There's about a dozen or more who were on long-term meds that are now drastically reduced or completely off them. So we have the platform and the people to help you if you wish to reach out, either by private message, either by email, or take part in the chat in MeWe. There'll always be people there who will support you in your quest to get rid of this nonsense and go forward in a much cleaner vessel, which will then make you thrive better. These hooks, and that's what it is. It's a hook, and I've discussed at length about what the hooks are that hold you back or get you trapped. Finance, religion, sex, drugs and alcohol. If you're hooked on one of them, they'll keep playing you. They'll keep harvesting and loosen your energy. If you're on more than one of them, you're in trouble, no matter how much awake you are. You're essentially leaving your vessel open for dis-ease to come in. Alcohol and drugs, psychedelic drugs, pot, spirits. You're opening your vessel up to something that is desperate to get in here and experience the 3D. Desperate. And yet so many drink alcohol to excess, particularly the spirit side of it, pot and psychedelic drugs and ayahuasca. no idea the potential damage you're doing. Sickness is one thing, bringing in entities that most people can't control is another. And I think I kind of suggested in the show recently that this is the main problem with what we call the synths. They're not themselves. They're just not. So, congratulations in recognizing the fact that you have a problem. Many don't. Many ignore it under the mask of illusion where they sit there lying to themselves. You're not helping, you're not lying to anyone. So, reach out if you're struggling. You don't, it doesn't actually say which problem. It said toxin, so it could be a range of things. But if you're on, whatever you're on, try reducing it day by day. If you can go cold turkey, fine. We had people on 4, 5, 6, 10, 12 tablets a day. Reduce it the 12 to 8 1 month, 4 the next month, 2, and then none. You'd be surprised at how quickly you can come off it. Nobody ever needed them. Nobody. Is it your understanding that the Saturn Moon AI soul trap? Let's break that down. The Saturn Moon matrix was the frequency. That went down in 2014. The AI is part of it. And there was a psychotic AI that went down 3 or 4 years ago also, along with the soul trap. So there's 3 different separate items. And no, none of them are still operating. None of them are looping us back into another body anymore. Can you explain what the soul trap is? I think I've just done that. It's been in existence for around 78,000 years until 4 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago. So when people talk about when's the event going to happen, it already did. Can you give us a sketch? I'm not good at drawing. Right, that type of sketch of future financial reality and how will it work? Well, a lot of work has been done. The banking system's been completely overhauled. The back doors are gone. Certain clearance accounts have been removed. The ability for certain agencies and rogue elements to interfere with that system has been removed. In fact, all have been removed from that system apart from 1 or 2 people. And so from that aspect, it's a case of phasing in and phasing out. You still had elements of the old system, that is, minor elements there, but they will be overcoming in time, and then the new system will operate in a fully transparent way. No more fake currencies flying around, super notes and all the other stuff, dinars and Rothschilds printing Bolivar and all kinds of other currencies. That with the quantum system doesn't happen. It can't. It recognizes them and spits them out and deletes them. So that's the new platform that's been created. Now what needs to happen is it needs to be implemented fully for the benefit of all, not the select few who want to hold on to everything. One of the suggestions is a treasury only should operate currency and print currency. So no more central banks and federal reserves and all that malarkey. The treasury of the individual country prints its own currency in accordance with the rules and regulations and its own asset based. So it's not a case of a country can just go printing money willy-nilly like the Federal Reserve and the Rothschilds. It will be based on the assets of the country. So, if a country declares itself sovereign, it then automatically has its own right to print its own currency. So sovereignty has a lot of implications. How will currencies and banking and trading work? Well, the currencies, like I said, it has to go back to treasuries in all the countries where they have their own sovereignty, their own choice, where they're not wrapped into so-called superpower or Rothschild banking empire. The currency will belong to the country and its people. Currently it's not. So, that takes time, and it's largely all been done within this calendar year, despite many other avenues of work that's been done. And once certain key figures push forward and implement what's already available, then everything will roll out. Be it the funds for the country, funds for the people, funds for the foundation and the projects. And there's some huge projects waiting to roll out globally. That's going to transform this planet once and for all. But we're getting closer. Can you in any way bring light to Trump's war-making and huge support of the military producers? It's deeply troubling, to say the least. Is it what it looks like or something else? It's not an easy environment he's working in, whether you like Trump or you don't. Whether he's working for us or he's not. We have 5 factions that are all chiming in various parts of the world. That doesn't matter whether you're President Trump or Prime Minister May or Merkel. These factions and the dragon groups backed by the Rothschilds are creating merry hell on a daily basis. And there's an awful lot of threats going on. So if a faction comes and says, we need you to go throw more troops into Afghanistan, without a full support team around him, he doesn't have much option when they turn around and will bomb this country or will bomb that country or will torture your children, you name it. Some of the things they come up with. It's a very, very toxic environment. There are things that we have, like that Mr. Trump or the government has issued, and the things that we won't like until things become a lot clearer. Maybe in the second part of this show, we might see some better support. Is Putin or Jinping in alignment with the Trust and the Sovereignty Declaration? Pretty much, yes. That will become clear in Kim's letter as well. Seems to me, in light of what you say, that most everyone in the alt news and MSN are totally wrong in this current time, and all the masses of the tedious propaganda and stupid drama will just be flushed to be replaced with a new harmonic system that is in service to humanity and our planet. This is exactly what almost no one is prepared for or thinks is possible. Many, of course, will simply be lost in such positive potentiality. But then, there's a lot in the alt media that are ready. I don't think they're as ready as the members in THI, personally speaking. I think when you look at some of the other sites and the narrative within it, it all looks like 2014 to me. It's like, the RV's coming again. The saw the only thing that's completely dropped because Miss Giraffe went to jail is OPPT. All the rest's still there. So, we'll see. But I think with the right announcement, there will be a positive uprising in many countries. With the right announcement, it has to be done right. Trump making arms deals with Saudis, that's not what it seems, as you can hear from the last show. It's not Trump making the arms deals, it's the US military, not the American military, the US military. They're not under Trump's control. One day they will be. And yes, we know about the millions down in Yemen, and Trump gives 30 billion to Israel. That's a problem. And again, maybe the Nikki Haley situation may wield some results in the near future. Will we be able to protect ourselves from an EMP attack? Not particularly, no. It's just one of them things. We have quite extensive intelligence available to us, and so many attacks, both against us and against countries and whatnot, are stopped. But if someone wants to implement something of that nature, and it's not as easy to stop. There was an EMP attack this week done on Norfolk, Virginia. Oh my. Except it wasn't them. Do you think Hillary will run for office in 2020? No. In order to avoid treason charges. Heaven forbid if that entity is still running around in 2020. It doesn't bear thinking about. Either way, Anne is a complete liability now. When you've got one of the biggest newspapers in the country who are advocates for Anne and her democratic Satanists telling her to quit and shut up and stop campaigning because you are a liability, it's pretty much game over. We said in a show about 2 months ago that Anne will get thrown under the bus. They think they're going to get away with it by just dropping Anne in it. No, they won't. No, they won't. But these people think different than we do. You talked about our solar system being a trinary star solar system. What exactly does it look like? I'm not too sure. I understand that question of what it looks like. It's 3 suns. But the other 2 are covered. The way it was described to me if you get a wheel with a set of blades like a ceiling fan, and it spins round, and our sun is trapped in the middle of blades. We can't see what's on the other side of the blade, and that's exactly how it's described to me, and that's all I can add at this point anyway. It's fair to say here in America we've been in a recession. Are we headed for a possible depression? What purpose would a depression serve, and are we headed that way, and how do we survive it? Well, we never came out of the last one. You know, they can spin it all they like on the media about this is doing well and that's doing well. Well, clearly it's not. Only one company appears to be doing well in America, apart from the rogue elements, and even they're struggling now, is Amazon. All the rest are going bust. Seers, Target, you name it. JCPenney, Walmart are downsizing. So how can the economy doing well with that background? It's clearly not. It's only going well for the goons who are manipulating the stock market. If something drastic is not done in the next month, financially this country and many others are in dire straits, period. They have the solution. We have the means to end it. It's up to them to implement it, and quickly. This country has ran without a budget for the last month. When you realise it costs ballpark around $150 million a week just to tick over, that's a big loss. There should have been a budget done on by the 30th of September. It's nearly the end of October. We know how much is left in all the departments, and it's not going to last beyond next week. It's up to them whether they want to continue sitting around waiting for Rothschild clowns to deliver the sum total of zero, or go with someone who's proven they have the funds and are willing to do it. Fairly simple. Do you think Pope Francis will ever be arrested? I see the progress that Kevin is doing, and if the warrant is issued, can't he just be arrested? Well, Kevin has done fantastic work, and so has John Darash with the National Liberty Alliance. But there's always one problem: enforcement. You saw what happened. You know, give Kevin his due and his team. They actually got an enforcement team and went to arrest last time. You saw what happened then. They got beaten up. This is the problem. You know, you've got people issuing arrest warrants here and there for these type of people, but no one will enforce it. And all they have to turn around to the police and say that guy is a terrorist. And the police, you know, they're not particularly bright, in my opinion. Well, too many of them anyway. They're not bright in the law. They don't really understand law, only what they've been told. They lack knowledge badly. So they're not able to discern whether that person's a terrorist or that arrest warrant is valid or valid. You just don't. I think they will be dealt with. I think it stopped an awful lot of further abuse by the work that Kevin's done and many others around the world by highlighting it. It has reduced it fairly drastically. So you can never discount by the end result. So because Kevin hasn't been able to arrest the Pope doesn't mean he isn't doing good work, as he is. The problem has always been enforcement. Are there any special shows in the making? Plenty. Maybe I'll do the Radomir one day. We have other special shows that are pending on outcomes of other people, but we'll see. Last week you declared that the Rothschildians have declared all-out war on us. Does this mean that they have broken the peace treaty and the UPU can now step in and defend us? We don't need the UPU to step in to defend us. We can defend ourselves. Obviously, their target of ire is largely at Cayman Trust. But that's a day-to-day thing, and we're used to it. You should never be used to that, but it is what it is. But should they attempt to do anything, they will be met heavily. Trust me. They know that. They also know that we can only defend, we can't attack. But when we defend, shit happens. They thought they were going to poison us all. That got stopped, didn't it? Should have all happened in September. By September, just gone. Didn't happen. Because we reversed the virus. But it took out Rothschildians only. They think they're clever. We think they're cleverer than us. They're not. Three earthquakes between 6.5 and 6.8 off Vancouver Island. In the last 2 days have been reported. Can you give us some idea what's behind these? I'm not too sure. What I can say is there's a rather unpleasant group of beings that went off the southwest, very south coast of Vancouver Island, around Victoria. So I gather those earthquakes were not that far away from there. Maybe someone has decided to end that base. Who knows? What is your feeling about using political correctness as a means of oppression through controlling the narrative? Well, I warned about this 20, 30 years ago when it first started in the UK. That's, it's not about being nice to blacks or nice to lesbians or nice to this one. It's about controlling and stifling the discourse. Pure and simple. So that it's rendered discussion in public. You have to carefully choose your words, because the way everything's set up now, everyone gets offended by everything. No wonder the comedians have vanished. Because you can't make a joke about anyone anymore. Because someone always gets offended. And that's all that program essentially was. So you couldn't, to use a term that's now been banned, call a spade a spade. I mean, really. You know, and people thought I was nuts when I turned around and said that in the UK. They weren't saying that 10, 12 years later when they were frightened of speaking out. It's a bit like the last piece we did on Thursday about feminism. It's always people find out when it's too late. Perhaps they should listen to people who see through the illusion more before it happens. And the latest one is the transgender program. And these people are not interested in transgender, apart from put them in the White House. And some of them sleep with them. I'm fine. That's what you want to do. Who am I to judge? But it's a program. And we've fallen for far too many programs. What do you feel about the spell Nazis and how important is English dark magic? Well, it's not just English dark magic. The original dark magic came out of Dravidia, which is now known as India, the Kali Ma, and before that, Africa, Voodoo. So, it's not exactly correct stating it's English dark magic. That's where the originated in the black people. That's not to denigrate black people. I'm still unsure whether they were seeded with it after they came here or it's part of their genetic makeup when they came here. But either way, it spread out. It went from Africa to the Garden of Eden in India, and they were worshipping the Kali Ma. And part of that worship, Kali Ma means the Dark Mother, probably Lilith. You know, and part of that worship program was you sacrificed your people to the Kali Ma. And that spread into the Mayan and the Aztec peoples and the Native Americans. The Urs and the Rus are going around trying to stop it. Not by violent means, by teaching. And that's what's going to be required on all levels going forward. The most important topic is going to be teaching. You've got vast volumes of people that have got to unlearn whole encyclopedias of knowledge that they've been taught, which is utter rubbish in every field. We spoke earlier about the political field and the banking field. You go and talk like we have to someone like the top CEO in Wells to Fargo, and they don't even understand microeconomics, never mind macro. A head of a bank that doesn't understand microeconomics. And that's how they get away with the system. Those people didn't have a need to know. But the Nazis, you know, again, that's for those that don't know. NA, the first two letters comes from the term nationalism, which is fascism, which is patriotism. It's the same concept. Love of the country over the love of the people. And ZI comes from the Zionists. Not Jews, Zionists. Again, it's a political ideology where psychopaths use it and attach it to a certain country. That's got nothing to do with that country, really. You can put Zionists and put them in Croatia or in the middle of a tiny island in the middle of the Pacific. Doesn't mean, it belongs to Croatia or Vanuatu, no more than it just belongs to Israel or Germany. People still talk about the German Nazis. What about the ones in Langley too? What about the ones in Norway? What about the ones in Sweden and Finland? They're not Germans, are they? What about the people running around Antifa? Half of them are Nazis. They're just playing a game. They're all paid to do it, like the clowns on the Honduran caravan. Just paid to play a role. What's my opinion on Ascension? Well, we have to create a platform on this planet for people to soul develop in a way where they can reach the mental planes and then beyond. Most people are trapped in the astral layer, and it will take a number of generations to fix that issue. Number of generations, probably at least 3, maybe 4. That's my opinion. Do you feel when and if we choose to ascend, we should take our physical bodies? No, you won't be taking physical bodies. You can't ascend with a physical body. The physical body is the 3D. There's a part physical body, but not the same as this one is. Because as I understand it, you reduce to 10% density, and then essentially you become ethereal. So this is the only dense physical body you have. Do you see a possibility in your or this lifetime to experience Prime Creator in physical form? Not possible. It just is. It's not male, it's not female, it's not in physical form. In fact, technically it is. What you would call Prime Creator, I would call Source. Technically it is in physical form already, in all of us. Because we're all part of Source. Let's take a few from somewhere else. I'll wait for time. Christ, there's an hour gone already. Will the EU go down in the near future? Possibly. Banking wise, it's in serious trouble. If you're talking about the clowns, I'll repeat what I said in a recent show. I think the EU will be the last to clean house. Was there ever a real human person placed in 3D by the Creator, like Jesus? Many. Unfortunately, most of them got ignored or killed, like Radomir, like Anna in the 1500s. You know, there's been regular teachers here, like the heirs. They ended up with the second moon crashing into the planet and wiping out that island, the area. They don't like teachers here because they gain too much juice out of the battery use they have for us. The last thing they want is people ascending, in other words, going through the learning soul development in here and going through all the mental planes, all four of them, and then going into cosmic evolution, because then they can't play the game. So they just kept everyone trapped in a loop. And then they had the lower loop, the soul trap, and then the karmic loop, where you drop down a level by killing somebody. And then the latest in our lifetime is stifling the growth of the child, because if the child doesn't develop by 0 to 6 on the etheric and astral planes, it will never develop at all. Essentially, that child becomes retard, and I don't mean that in a demeaning way. It can't develop on the mental planes. So this is why they've been hammering kids over the last 40, 50 years with fake disease of ADHD, and giving them all kinds of Ritalin and all kinds of other rubbish in the vaccines. It's all designed so the kids don't get their first couple of strings, which is the etheric and the astral string. If they're not achieved by a certain age, 0 to 7, 0 to 6 is the key. That child, for the rest of their life, just stays as it is. It's not going to develop at all, no matter how much you teach it. It can't. So this is what's been going on. Do free energy 0-point devices exist? Yes. What will it take to get them in the hands of the general public? A mass arrest, I think. And the will of certain people in authority to actually do the job they're paid to do, and not kowtow to the clowns. Would you agree the whole waiting game and arrest and take down the cabal is a whole low vibrational program in itself to keep us from reaching our highest potential and distracting us from doing our inner work? It can be, which is why this show has morphed kind of slowly but surely away from the well, it's mass arrest is coming and this and that. You know, it gets mentioned in the intel, but it's not a focused subject throughout the show. And we have encouraged from May 2015 for people to do the shadow and inner work, and many are now seeing the benefits of that. Imagine if you hadn't, with all the carnage that's going on now. Heaven forbid. The mass arrests program seemed to originate with Wilcock in the years leading up to 2012. Yes, it did. Wilcock read out a script of, everything that Drake said in 2011 was a repeat script of what David Wilcock wrote under the pseudonym Art Aqua on the Skolnick report in August or September of 2002. Oops. Why does everyone have different fingerprints? I have no idea. Sorry. What happens to the synths when all the pins are placed around the world? Good question. I'm not too sure I know the answer to that either. It depends on how much the frequencies change. I think people are starting to notice the changes in energy without connecting the dots of it being connected to the source energy that started to come in May. People are noticing the unawakened, the synths are losing it, and that was one of the consequences of the increase in source energy, because they can't handle the frequency. Would the organics have a sudden change in their physiology? It's already underway. It's a bit like the event, that. When's it happening? Already has. I've no idea how much energy needed to boil an egg. I'm just sure that's a valid question, but how much energy is needed to clear cancer from one's body? It depends on the individual. Not everyone can. Not everyone believes they can, for a start. Therein lies the problem. You know, there's many people who are in victim mode, and they get told they've got cancer, and they go, oh, you know, we're going to die. We're all going to die, just that person. Well, that person hasn't got a chance, because they've just consented that the cancer's going to kill them. And yet you change the tone. Well, I'm going to beat this. And you have the mental plane abilities of healing. Then you can. Blaming others to hide one's own diseases. Well, that's a common thing. It's the mirror, isn't it? Those people still operate under the mask of illusion, and the mirror is a mask of illusion. What is your opinion about gurus, priests, prime ministers, presidents, doctors, faith scientists, mentality of blind following, and who should we follow first? Well, yourself. You know, do your own research. For too long, I've believed, using for one, doctors know everything and can cure everything. No, they don't know jack. They know a lot, but not on cures, because they haven't been taught. Nobody's been taught cures for a long time. Scientists the same. If they make a discovery that is going to tip the world upside down in a narrative, they get killed or shut down, or the grant taken off them and they disappear. Presidents the same. We've got our own president here that's 26 layers below the deep state. 26 layers. He's actually 41 layers below Kim. Oops. You know, and so the first thing is you follow yourself. But too many people are not secure in themselves. The shadow and the inner work helps with that. As for which one is my favourite to follow, none of that list. None whatsoever. Follow yourself. If you choose to listen and agree with a lot of the narrative of other people, fine. If you don't, fine also. Was there an ET battle occurring between 2010 and 13 over California? Yes. Tall Greys were involved with that, and some others. I won't mention them. Have you ever heard of J Essex? Yes, I have. I've not followed any. I listened to 1 or 3 videos of his, and it didn't resonate with me. But that's up to you. I'm more concerned is what he tells females in private. I've had a number of people who come to me complaining about him and his antics behind the shows. Could you recommend a good etymology book? No. There's, if you type in, you can find one online. I use one online. I can't even remember the name of it now. They took it down for a while after I was putting too many of them into the show. But it's back up now. I've been inspired to be in service to help others. And I posted an ad in our local buy and sell called Free Exceptional Services, donating 2 days a week to anyone in need. Services such as bookkeeping, cleaning, painting for free for anyone who needs help. The response has been amazing. One elderly lady was hospitalised a day after she moved, and I helped her unpack. Fantastic. You know, this is the way it will eventually go. It's a bit like time banking. We're not ready for time banking yet. I had a discussion with Alan of OYM. You know, the way, with the current mindset, you'll still get the same people putting all the time and the effort in, and there'll still be the same people who are taking it and not giving it. So I'm pleased that you've been inspired to help people, and let's hope that you inspire others to do that, and we can make it viral. You said that religion was an experiment. How is that all these things are coming to pass that were written in the Bible? Because that book was written at a time when they decided their next set of plans. Prophecy is plan. It's not some prophet that's sitting there going, come by Aaron, and it's deliberate plans. You know, the King James Bible, it was written by the Brits, who were then British Empire, with letters J in it. Except the letter J had only just come out for that book. Oops. Jesus, Job, John, Jehovah, Jerusalem, none of them existed. Couldn't have done. You know, it's like the late 1800s when they were planning the next 100 years. Blavatsky wrote the New Age movement to replace religion when they knew the populace would move away from it at this time. So that was like 100 years ahead of time. They had the looking glass technology. They could see ahead and plan for it. In the same decade that Blavatsky wrote the New Age movement, Albert Pike wrote the prophecy, which was actual plan of 3 world wars. Except the third one failed. First 2 were correct though. The third one was a clash of the civilizations between the Muslims and the Christians. Well, you've all seen what's played out over the last 15 years. They've tried their damnedest to implement World War III with the clash of those 2 religions. But it failed. So yes, you can always, it's a bit like the Nostradamus thing, you know, the prophecies and whatnot. You can always twist words like statistics to suit an agenda. You know, there was one Hister, and that was linked to Hitler. You know, you can twist things to suit your own agenda and purpose, but all those prophecies and those scriptures and books were premeditated plans. Why is every generation religious saying the end is near? Why are we all still here that the end is near? Nobody questions the stuff that didn't work. Is America the Babylon mentioned in the Bible? Babylon is a system, it's a program, it's not a region. It's transient, like Jerusalem. The original Jerusalem was in Russia. It then went to Constantinople under the Romans, who then transferred it to the non-existent original country now known as Israel. And Babylon is the financial system, one of them anyway, and that is transient also. And as for Jerusalem, go and look up the hymn Jerusalem, the British hymn. And was Jerusalem builded here? Yes, it was. That's another plan. That was in the 1700s. That particular hymn, 1700s, that hymn was written. And they were telling you in the hymn, and was Jerusalem builded here in England's green and pleasant land? Well, it was England that created Israel, given that they owned Palestine. This is what they do. And thankfully more of us now are seeing through that type of illusion. And once you see the pattern, it always repeats. Your thoughts on the caravan marching to our border and what might result if they reach it? They won't. Say no more than that. Why is the Secretary of the Treasury allowed to continue to stop the trust disbursements? I don't think he is anymore. Sorry. Bye, Mr. Munchkin. Since this slavery has been going on for thousands of years, to what point of rectification do you see this going? Well, it's slowly but surely coming to an end. It can escalate very quickly over the next 12 months to 2 years. Again, it's part of like the person asking about getting rid of addiction. You first have to realise there's a problem. And people have to realise that they are slaves. We've got people, top people in with badges on their shoulders, who don't realise yet that they're slaves as well to the system. Perhaps they'll find out after the music break. But we are on the brink of massive change. Many massive changes have already taken place, which is more internal than external, but the external ones are not that far away. Are there protections being put in place for voting this time around? Absolutely. Is it a good thing to be a multi-dimensional being? Depends on the person themselves. To all other species who can't transcend the different dimensions and planes like we can, they're rather envious. There's a lot of people who aren't aware that they are multidimensional. There are people who know, and again, it comes down to their own personal perspective on it. Some would maybe not like to spend as much time on this plane, and have much more fun on the other planes. But we have much more work to do here still, because all the planes have to be corrected, not just this one. Why is it bad to be on multiple timelines? Well, that plays into the multi-dimensional being, and people are operating on many planes at the same time. Some people are finding they're not in here as much as they used to be. If voting machines are switched in November of 16, does the possibility still exist that it can happen again this November? No. We have more eyes, more ears, and more awareness now. Have you seen the Flexner report? No, sorry. I've answered them too. Some of these questions are doubled up. Bear with me a minute. For the people who are new, you only have to put your question in once. Do not repeat it again. It just creates more work. They always get held back and answered at certain times. Maybe the next show or the show after. It depends on the content of the show. But there's a number in here who've put questions in 2 or 3 times, the same questions. That one's gone. That one's gone. That one's gone. Right, okay. Maybe we've only got a few left now. Will there be another civil war? It has a low percentage as a possibility. If certain things take place, it will create some type of disturbance, but whether it will lead to a full civil war is unlikely, in my opinion. Is there any aid Kim or the team could do to help those starving in Yemen, Venezuela, Africa? We have sent money to certain countries. It just is becoming increasingly difficult because they just block, or they leave it hanging in the bank and try to find ways out of it. Sneaked it out the back door, or holding accounts, or you name it, and eventually we have to pull it back. But we did send some to Venezuela. We have sent money to some African countries. We have tried to get funds into Yemen in most countries. But these clowns, like Retribution, still like to play games. Were there originally 52 letters in the English alphabet, and if so, where can I find information? There's 52 letters now. And I know what you're getting at with that term. You've got 26 in lowercase and 26 in upper. That's where that 52 letters come from. It's not other digits as such. I was never an organised religious person. I'm interested in learning more about Source and all it includes. Could you direct me to any reading material, people or techniques to follow or practice? Not in particular. There's people that talk about it. We talk about it within the show. But it's an experience that you really, by interacting, that you can't really describe. It's not like you're, in my opinion anyway, you're going up some steps and you're talking to some guy that with a white beard or anything like that. It just is. It's the energy. It's the frequency. It's not a he or a she. It's, like I say, it's in all of us. We are part of source, part of creation. So it's not outside of you, it's inside of you. And that's something that a lot of people on this planet are struggling with, that concept, whether they're awake or they're not, whether they're religious or not. It's always outside. No, it's not. It's in. Why is it bad to do group or guided meditations? Well, it's not bad per se. Let's split it up. Group meditations. It only takes one with a bad energy that can have an effect on the others. Are you sufficiently aware of frequencies of people to know whether one or more in that group are not putting out bad frequencies? Now, as for the guided meditations, there's a lot of, what do they call them? Mandalas. And again, 99% of the people don't understand the true meaning of that mandala or who created it. They just, because it came from India or because it came from Israel or some other biblical place, they assume that mandala or that reading or that scripture is good and wholesome. But we don't know enough. So if you're doing group or guided meditations, you've got to know the frequencies of the people within that group for a start. Otherwise it's just going to disrupt the flow. And organise the meditation where everyone's comfortable with it, not out of someone else's book, or someone else says that you go or sing Kumbaya or use this mandala or this crystal. What happens if someone has held that crystal or owned that crystal previously that was dark? This is the lack of knowledge that many people in what is considered New Age, if you like, they have no idea. They don't know about possessions, they don't know about walk-ins, they don't know about frequencies, they don't know about mandalas. All this has to be taught before anyone trusts any group or guided meditations, no matter who's promoting it. You always have to protect yourself. Did Social Security 2.8 increase go through? I have no idea, sorry. What does it mean to go within? Well, that depends on the person. Some people have to go within via a meditation. Some people have to play music, some people have to play sounds, and some people can do it without music with their eyes closed, and some people can go within awake and their eyes open. So it depends on the individual. There's no set way. You previously stated that Trump's wall will keep people in and also keep outside people out due to the funky nature of FEMA abductions of homeless and their murders in mass graves. A wall is not a good idea. The April Heavy Show gave a more pro-wall, and you state where you stand on the wall. I was always against it until I got more detailed knowledge. Per se, I don't believe in walls. I don't actually believe we should build a wall now. I think you can have stations with military, American military, which will require an executive order, changing the US military into the American military to be able to operate on our soil. I don't think we need to physically build a wall. You can have like the old castles, if you like, every 100 yards, with someone going along the fence with a sonar machine that goes down and uncovers all the tunnels that they're marching through and sink them. It's imperative, either by a physical wall or my preferred option is bringing all the troops home from abroad and putting them on that border. We have to do something, and quickly. The Obama and the Muslim Brotherhood, which is the sole purpose for that Honduran caravan, are waiting to cause mayhem in this country because they know they're going to lose the election badly. And they know certain investigations have reached a critical point. They know certain knowledge handed to them by the trust on many levels is now being heard through all the corridors of power that will change the old system once and for all. Something has to be done for the benefits of the kids. Millions of them are being used for all kinds of heinous experiments and sexual desires and food. For those of you who are new, yes, some of those kids get used for food. Sorry. So, if it's a physical wall, fine. I would prefer troops manning the border with sonar running along the length of the wall and finding out all the tunnels and collapse them all. That would be my choice. Do you have a reliable source, book or website that gives the truth about different crystals? No, I don't, sorry. You know, if you get a crystal, you have to learn how to be able to clear the previous energy that's stored within it. Not everyone can do it. You know, they're fun to have, but they also can be very dangerous. And it's our lack of knowledge on it which hampers. Do you have a reliable source book on seers that can spot and remove dark entities from people? Again, it's covered by certain people. I mean, I have give instructions of how people can deal with certain things within the shows, but there's no book on it. Somebody may have one, but not that I'm aware. Right, I think that's the end of all the questions. No, there's not. One more. I presume this is from the UK. May not be. If children are being legally taken away from parents and used for horrendous purposes, where is the outcry at the point of abduction? I know if someone took children away from me and used a closed court system and I never saw them again, there would be an outcry on social media by cousins, parents, grandparents, aunties and uncles. There was, and people ignored it. I told you about the 2 incidents in the UK. That woman had to flee to Tunisia. They stole one kid, and because she was pregnant, they were going to take the other. And this woman had never been in trouble, never hit the kids, never been done for abuse. They just decided they didn't like her and they wanted her children for whatever purpose, so it didn't make sense. You're going against the system, and we need to change the system to be able to operate it. At the moment, it's closed, which is why I tell people, pay your taxes, get your driver's license up to date, all the other licenses up to date, even though none of them are valid. We're still in their system. But that woman even went on many shows and made the newspapers. Didn't change it. There's not enough people care. I think there's more that do now. But certainly going back then, it was 10, 15 years ago, everyone thought it was ridiculous. Don't talk stupid, they don't steal your children. Oh dear. Yes, they do, in vast volumes. Right, we're going to have a music break, and then we'll be back with We Will Overcome, so bring it on. Well, Kim took the time out of a busy schedule to compile a letter this week, and it's targeted at very specific targets, because we are breaking down the barriers. There's still certain walls that are put up here. What we've said all along, America's the battlefield. And once that battle has been won, so is the war. And it's only a very few that are holding pretty much everything up now. And a lot of it's down to a lack of knowledge and a lack of awareness and a lack of understanding. They think they should know about what's going on. They have no idea. So Kim wrote this for them. It went onto Tank's blog because that blog goes into the RV world. It goes into the clown realms and the dark web, where they all reside. So this letter is for them, for those who are not awake. That was written by Kim. And those who are not aware. This has to be said. The system, no, not a computer system, the system. The system I speak of is one of slavery, one of abuse, one of total control over humanity. This is for you, the slave masters. The slaves, the ones who are fighting to protect the system. Do you actually know what you are trying to protect? Do you know who is running this flawed system? The system is broken. It has been slowly breaking down for the last 2 years. It is breaking not because of us. They're blaming the trust for everything. The awake and aware. It's breaking because it's severely flawed. You are missing it. It was never a sustainable system. It was always meant to break. The non-compete plan, the harvest, the order, does not have a plan. They are dependent solely on you, the slave masters. The people fighting to protect the system, to create. Create what? May you ask. What are you creating? To create a plan to preserve the system of slavery they covet so dear. Why do they need you, slaves? Because they are not the creators of the universe. They are not the thinkers on this planet. They have always been people herders, slave masters, if you will. The thinkers have left them, and now all they have is you. So you fight every day to preserve the broken down system without a second thought. Diligently killing people, raping children, stealing money and resources for the masters you all believe in. But why do you believe in them? Is it a cycle of abuse? Stockholm Syndrome? Come on, people that work for them. Hadn't you noticed you are running around spending your own time, your own money, carrying out plans that you created? Have you not noticed it's not working? You are essentially plugging the Hoover Dam with bubblegum and the dam is bursting. There are no sides in this war. There's only what is real and what is not. And you are fighting to protect that which is a fantasy while we are fighting for what is real. Let me explain. The deep state. We all know who these people are. The ones who are making a very futile attempt to control governments, to control financial systems. They're in every country. Your central bank governors, your various officials who will fight to protect the slave masters' control over the people. Why do they need you? And by you, I mean the central bank governors who take the calls and the promises of billions of dollars to keep their country broke and on its knees. Some of you work for the agencies, the IMF, the World Bank, mercenary groups, Parliament and Congress. Do you actually know what you are fighting for? You know you are trying to destroy people going against the system, going against their way of life. I'll have more on that later. You are mistaken. This is not correct. The system was designed to break down by 2017, to set to self-destruct. As for me, Kim, I am logical. I know when something goes down, something else will always take its place. Are we fighting you? No. We have disregarded your failed attempts to preserve something which is already gone. We are implementing a new system which is based on the creative thinking of humanity, the sovereignty of nations, a way of life based on the theory people are creators. Given the opportunity, they will and can create a harmonious nation and harmony between nations. 99% of all wars were fabricated. They made you believe are real. False intel, false flags, fake media, false financial hardships just to keep you enslaved in their fatally flawed system. They brand products on our television to keep us hopelessly dependent on their debt-based system of created currencies that have no real value other than the one they place it on. send us messages on fake news to make us believe these are the bad people, those are the bad people. But you have to wake up. The system is broken. It will not continue even if we, humanity, do nothing. But we, humanity, need to put something else in its place before it's too late. The order. These people run around giving orders to you, the enslaved ones, who you follow blindly. You do not realize these people were never the order makers. They did not create the plan. And most certainly they did not create the system. Please stop calling them benevolent or gods or kings or masters. Well, the term master may have been correct. They were the slave masters of humanity, promising you week in and week out billions of dollars or whatever currency to save humanity. Never arrived. No intentions of. They claim to be humanitarians, but hold on. Then they say it's not time yet, just wait. To which you respond, okay, master. Just so you, the creative beings of this universe, do nothing. Do you actually know what you are saying? You are blindly following people which you are calling master. And for what? What did they do? When did they have control over the money and the resources of the world? Nothing. Did they feed the poor? No. Did they feed the nations? No. Stop war? No. Crime? No. Promoted it. The masters. They fed us poison. They salted the earth so we could only eat their poison. They created wars to make them money. They stole from us and raped our children. They created terrorist organisations to keep us in fear. They created diseases and treatments that slowly killed our loved ones. So we would take more of their poison, believing their disease was medicine. I'm talking about your dragon families, Rothschilds, the Nazis, the Chinese elders. Yes, you are reading this, the slaves that follow them all so blindly. Why do you still follow? Why do you call these people master and follow so blindly? When their system is flawed, the system is broken. There must be a new system to take its place. And they all have no clue. None. Humanity will not tolerate a system of control anymore. They created the internet. They created the smartphones. And people all over the world understand the system is broken. It's too late. The entire world will never follow a flawed system. The majority will not follow. So they say they will kill us all, leaving only their followers. Again, flawed. It failed. You have been feeding us poison and disease for so long now. We are immune. Oops. That's right. You unknowingly created our solution while feeding your insanity. The corporates, the non-compete plan, 70 years of planning, you say, explain the control structure of every industry in the world. The Majestic 12 and their SS small p were fed technology to disperse to the masses. Yep. The very creations they sell to us have created their own downfall. Yes, they may still feed us poison. They still feed us their flawed, hopelessly antiquated tech. But what happened? Like a virus that mutates itself to become immune to antibiotics, which are designed to treat humanity, has mutated to overcome these fatally flawed corporate controls. We use your smartphones, your internet, your social networks to communicate with each other. This has created portals to realise the branding coming from your corporates, your drug companies, your Council on Foreign Relations, your United Nations is not real. We talk to people in the countries you call the bad guys, the boogeymen. We have computer systems that provide us with proper intelligence information. And now, no, you're all full of it. We fly in your planes, we travel in your cars, we shake hands with each other in nations all over the world now. Didn't you realise what we were doing? Oops. You have hit the precipice, the peak, and now we're on the other side. Your methods of control are broken by the very technology you fed us. It's all over. Did you actually think they provided you with military technology that had any hope of defending yourselves in a real war? Nope. Absolutely not. As the SS small p found out recently, as you know, as those goons in Norfolk, Virginia found out. The tech you have is way behind. Oh dear. They gave you this tech and all you could think about was money, money and more money. They fed you your own demise. They gave us the tools to our freedom. Now it's too late. The system is broken, the system is dead, and you are fighting to revive a dead horse. But it's all over. Your greed and ego have been your own downfall. President Trump is aware of what we're saying. So is President Putin. Many African heads of state are also aware. Many South American heads of state are also aware and on board. Many agency people around the world are now also aware. Even the History Channel reports it. But when will you wake up? Final note. The system is broken. It will not come back. A new system is forming. It is being created, whether or not we participate. When something goes down, something else will come up. That is nature. What will you choose? You can sit and just wait for your slave masters, or you can become your own master and participate. You can continue to try and kill all that refuse to follow the crumbling remains of a flawed system, or realise there is no system and follow reality. That reality is not coming. It's already here. Choose wisely. Kim. Let our people go indeed. I hope you all enjoyed that. And it gives you an idea of how far we've come. And how close we are to the external change. The internal is largely won. But one point I want to bring up out of that piece is I'm aware of what God said, or what has been said, or what was relayed to us recently, the past week or so. And the statement was, we the trust are ruining their way of life. Really. We are ruining their way of life. You have ruined billions of lives over many centuries and currently have no intention of stopping doing that. You have ruined and raped this planet and all living beings, humans or otherwise. And in essence, you ruined your own way of life as you lost touch with reality. But please don't play the violin act with us, stating we are ruining your way of life. Because I'm sure I speak on behalf of all humanity when I say this. Go and fuck yourselves. Ruining your way of life indeed. Never heard such bollocks in all my life. It's not life what you advocate. It's death and destruction. We're going to turn it round, and we are. And you know we are. And no matter how many blocks or threats you put up or initiate, you won't stop it. Tide's turned. The timeline has changed, and the tide has turned. And that's why everything they do will fail. I've repeated it often enough in Cosmic Voice and throughout THI. It failed. They are in charge of, or in control of, their own illusion now. They still haven't worked out, as Kim pointed out, one, that they themselves are slaves. Two, the timeline altered and the looking glass technology no longer works for them. And no amount of hacking and fiddling and messing will bring it back. Not for your benefit anyway. No matter how many ways they try to kill us all en masse, they all fail and will continue to do so. That project had to be completed before 2012 with a minor alteration of 2017. They both failed. 4. Your egos, badges and titles keep you occupied in their own levels of self-importance, whilst they take the piss out of you and us. 5. You are tasked with chasing gold at the end of the rainbow, only to find there is no end. It's like the RV, it's always coming, except it never arrives. It wasn't there to begin with. All illusion. And 6, your role is a pointless exercise of spectacular levels of stupidity. Now, I don't believe for 1 minute all of you are stupid people. Well, come on. When does the hello McFly kick in? How far do you have to go? How many more failures are you going to take and see and witness before you realise it's game over? You've been chasing and waiting for fake Chinese elders now for well over a decade. And what's worse, you are taking orders from the same fake entities. All of the vast resources you have at your disposal, and none of you, not one of you, can locate a single Chinese elder. Can't do a cross-check of where their funds are, or validate whether their funds are even real. Have you not worked out yet why, in the past 11 years, none of their codes to the system have ever worked? 0, none. Or assess whether the 500 years or more global GDP required for an RV payout actually exists for real. Or whether that volume of funds added into the current debt-based system would last longer than the first 60 seconds of it being entered, and the whole banking system right round the world would collapse, including your payouts. Well, have you? And if not, why? Is it threats? A threat is a national security issue. Coalesce and deal with it. It's what you are paid for. Show some backbone in your life for once and deal with the threats. Is it incompetence that you haven't bothered checking the last list? Because if it is, you should stand down. And we can get people in who are actually interested in looking after America. Not the bloody United States. We're not the United States. That's their system, not ours. The military and the Pentagon people, the badges you proudly wear are a symbol of your own stupidity, ego and loss of reality. If you want badges, we can give you loads of badges. But you have to save people, protect people, not kill or destroy them. Who decided it was an honourable thing to wear badges for killing your fellow man? The system did, and you bought into it. Taught a whole nation to buy into it also. Badges are for followers of the program, a program you are incapable of seeing, feeling or sensing. Back then, ignorance was a choice. Now it's your own trigger. And figuratively speaking, a slow death of you. And to be clear, the system will see to that, not us. We come in peace always, not in violence. Kissinger told you all the truth years ago, and you all still carried on with your badges of dishonour. But we will survive and thrive with or without you. You can count on that. But we would like as many people out of the coma as possible, all helping, not destroying. I know many of you have a fear of being exposed for crimes committed. But if it fits the purpose, except those who have been abusing children in the various programs, or mutually agreed levels of crime, you can always arrange an executive order for a full disclaimer in return for full disclosure, providing those who committed crimes, largely under orders, we are aware, have much reduced salaries and benefits, have a bulk of their assets put back into the trust for disbursement back to the people, and work extensively to fix and correct the multitude of problems the world faces. I see no point in vast resources wasted on vacuous snake oil lawyers and their maritime law harvesting system, all being played out to obeying public who by and large have ignored all the issues. We in the alternative community have presented much. They ignored. You did. Not to mention the insidious script readers you call news, all blathering on 24/7, acting like they didn't know. We don't have the time for that nonsense, in my opinion. Now, some people may not like that idea, and I do get that. But we don't have the time for that level of hearings, investigations, debates, court time. Christ, it's taken over 18 months to decide whether the Russians colluded in the last election, and we're only a week away from the next one. We have to remember as well, all of us have participated in some way or other in this stupid game of programs and systems. We have all ignored the issues for too long. I remember many in the UK and America all wooing and fist pumping at the shock and awe taking place in Iraq, celebrating the unfolding genocide on Iraqi people and their homes with no fucking clue as to why they were being bombed. None. So we can't all be sanctimonious about it and say it was all them, because we, as well, for too long, went along with it far too easily, in my opinion. Time for some new ideas and new badges for saving the people, then the country, and then onto the world in a global collective of all nations. Not one falsely created so-called superpower designated to be used and abused as the world's global bully. We the people have had enough of that shit. Sacrificing our sons and daughters, sacrificing our finances, businesses, jobs, and sacrificing our reputations. All because some Rothschildian family, fake Chinese elders, bankers, the Vatican, or some order decided to make their sacrifices to their psychotic gods. Why follow when you can lead? Because let me assure you, in regards for those entities I've just mentioned, their days are numbered low. Their time is up. Their reign of terror is ending. Their reign of control has already gone. Only illusion, threats and false flags are left for them now. They couldn't even win a one-horse race election here in 2016, remember? And here you are, 2 years later, dancing like puppets to their failed tune, failed program and failed system. Wouldn't it be great if we all got together? A high-level UN-style meeting with all the nations and the trust, where we will present the full evidence of their total nonsense and full proof of evidence of what the trust has, can deliver and what we are willing to do. An opportunity to show full proof we are ready to roll out everything we have promised with full transparency. Should such a meeting take place, many would leave that meeting aghast at the depth of what has took place, staggered in its entirety, staggered at how so few knew. And I have to make it clear, it was not all your fault. All of this was compartmentalized into oblivion. You would leave in a general disbelief that it went this far. And all learn how close we all came to a total annihilation of all the people on this planet. All cards would be laid out on a table for real, with a clear path forward for all those attending. But also a drive to correct all the ills around the world and drive this planet onto a new path. We say, bring it on, and let's get this done. Their program and their system failed. Let's all work together to create a new one that doesn't pander to the few but encompasses the all, where we can all work together and work towards bringing peace and harmony for the all. We have much to do to build that new platform. It will be achieved quicker by us all working together. So let's get this meeting rolling. We welcome you with open arms, and it will represent an opportunity to wipe the slate clean and for all of us to move forward and move as one. This has been the Truth, Honour and Integrity Show. Bye for now.